Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to paint our first of the RC10 bodies with liquid mask. These are the bodies we're doing for the January vintage race down in Wilson, and we will be talking more about that as we get closer to the event. But anyways, we got these bodies liquid masked up. We got two of them done for the buggy, and I got one done for the TNT. We're going to concentrate on getting this first one done, and then we'll go forward after that. But for today, let's get this thing done. All right, guys, please excuse the mess. I am running out of space. But either way, we got our, we skipped over the sketching process. I just took a Sharpie, looked at some ideas on the internet. I'm trying to get one of those more newfangled paint schemes that everybody seems to be doing. Seems to be the trend is the scallop style stuff where it's all split up. It gets super complicated, which is why you'd want to use liquid mask. This is out of my wheelhouse. The drips and stuff, yes, no problem. Scallops, no problem. But when it gets into all these kind of interweaving stuff, you get confused really quick. And I know where my skill level ends, and we're pushing the limits. Liquid mask, it's a love-hate thing. It's great when it does work. But the only downside to it, in my opinion, is if you make a mistake, it's done. There's no touching it up and adding tape or anything to it, because this is basically liquid latex. If you hadn't never done it, it's basically spraying a rubber glove on your body and you trim it out and spray over it. It's great. Super crisp lines, but no second chances. I have done it a lot in the past. Like I say, when I was a younger kid, when I could actually see pretty good, I did all the letters on NASCAR bodies, all the good wrench and the numbers and the everything I did liquid mask and cut it out by hand. Was it perfect? No, but was it pretty good for the time? Yes, it was. 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. But we're going to push ourselves a little bit to go outside of the box, at least on my own skill level, and see if we can't get a more modern style paint scheme. The graphics here are going to be ghost graphics. They're going to be the same color as the drips. This one and this one. That's why I got a little extra little hook on the drip. Naturally, drips are all curves. They wouldn't have a point. So just to stylize it a little bit. All these drips will be outlined. The drips are going to be pink to go with the wheels. The main body color, at least the tail section and this center section of the hood, and all this stuff behind this stripe right here, I'm thinking it's a really pretty metallic blue, because we got blue washers on his car. We got pink body mount. We got some guru green on the body clips. So we may throw some of the green in there somewhere. This stripe here most likely will be silver or chrome. We got to trim around all the windows. I used the factory window mask on the front. Didn't really need to, but I did. And the only reason why I really didn't use the side windows because they didn't match the body. The body came with two different sets of masks, and neither one of them fit the actual lines on the body. This is a J Concepts Mirage. So the side glass, I probably would have used a factory mask on it as well, but it didn't fit. We did use it on the truck body. And again, not necessary. You can trim it out with the mask. And a lot of people do, because that leaves you opportunity to do some stylized window trim. But enough talking. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to start cutting this stuff. We got a lot of cutting to do. Once we get it cut, we'll start spraying some colors. It's as simple as that. It's masked up. All right, guys. We're back. We got everything cut out. I did not cut the outlines for the drips yet. I'm going to wait till I get some paint on here. Kind of going forwards and backwards with this paint scheme. I'm going to spray the silver stripe first. Technically, I could have sprayed the blue in the back first and cover it with silver, but I wanted this defining line here between the two colors because I've cut some RC10s and some AEs out on a Cricut machine to make some ghost images in the blue. We'll go over that once we get there. I did have a couple of mistakes, and I was able to fix them with tape. Seeing how I'm pulling this whole back half off. We straightened this point up a little bit, and the point over this vent got a little weird, and it peeled up when I went to cut it or pull it off. So we went back and remade it with tape. There are some ways out, but for the most part, it's very risky when you pull this stuff off. If you pull too much, then you're done. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and spray the silver. We're going to use Createx Wicked Silver and a couple of coats of this, and then we'll be good to go. We can back it with black, but I'm probably going to be doing some black shadowing around it, so I may just wait and do the backing at the same time I do the shadow. All right, there's one coat. I'm going to be careful again, not put a bunch on at one time. I don't want to heat this masking up too much. I don't know how it acts with heat. It's been a while since I used it. And if you're curious, this is Proline liquid mask, and I put it on with a 1.8 primer gun. Not necessary. You can brush it in. You can spray it in with a cheap paint gun, but we put it in with a 1.8 primer gun. I had it work. And it almost may be too thick. We did 3 coats. I let it flash between coats. So it's a little bit thick when we went to cut it, but so far so good. Come back and spray our drop shadows and then onto the blue. Alright, went ahead and sprayed black over the stripe. We pulled the nose or the hood stripe off and just hit the edges very slightly to create that drop shadow. We're going to peel the back off. And this stuff peels really easy, but you got to be careful. Anywhere that you have cut, like we have a quarter panel glass here that we don't want to leave, that we want to leave in the car. So it's hard to tell if you've got it completely cut until you start pulling it. And sometimes you might be having to go back and trim it a little bit. I do believe I put this stuff on a little thick. It's hard to tell how much you're supposed to put on there. You need enough because you don't want it too thin. You can't get it off, and if it's too thick, you got to put a little bit extra pressure on it, trimming it. And then you got to be careful not to score the body on top of everything else you got going on. So most likely, after I get past these next few bodies, I will revert back to my masking tape because I definitely have a new respect, or I've always had respect for the guys that really do these crazy paint jobs on these buggies here lately, or just in general. There's been some really wild paint jobs, and I know my limitations, but we can kind of look like them cool kids. Being careful here not to pull our windows off again. The corner of that glass tried to stick, but it popped off. I am going to trim around the windows and stuff, but I'm going to do it after the fact. Once you got all the paint on there, you can see the texture difference between the paint and the mask. And I believe that's going to make it a little easier for me anyways to trim around the drips and the windows. Peeling pretty good so far. We've actually pulled our problem areas off where we touched up with tape, and they came out really good. Alright, the corner of this glass is not trimmed good. So we're going to have to come back, make sure. Looks like I didn't even cut it. Sometimes you can see daylight ever so slightly in the cracks. Yep, I had simply just missed it. Alright, there's the back half of our car. And as I mentioned earlier, we cut some AEs and some RC10s on the Cricut machine. See it shining through the light there? There's where I weeded it out. I'm going to just randomly place them in this clear area, and I'm just going to do a little shadow around them and then pull them off. So there'll be ghosted images of the RC10 and a couple of AEs kind of intermixed, kind of hidden, and little Easter eggs you hide in your paint job. Alright guys, I weeded out the RC10s as you seen earlier there, and we just kind of placed them randomly on the body. I'm going to put a little shadow just very, very slightly around all the logos. And then we're going to pull them out. They're all going to be the same color as the body, so they'll be kind of ghosted in there. It's going to be a little time consuming to pull all of them out, but it's going to add a little detail that sets it apart from just being two colors. So I see one more R I got to weed out here, and then we're going to spray some black. All right, we're going to be real careful not to get too much black on here. You could also do it with another shade of the same color that you're going to use. I could use a darker blue or a lighter blue to ghost them in a little bit, but we're just going to do it with black. Ever so slightly. All right, we're going to change camera angle here a little bit. Like I said, just ever so slightly around the logos and around the graphic. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right, it doesn't take much, just enough to, you'll see a distinct difference between that and the pure blue that's going over top of it. Anyways, I may go back and hit a few more of these spots just a little bit more, and then we'll come back and we'll spray the blue. All right, guys, we got our black sprayed and went ahead and pulled all the logos out. As you can see, they're just kind of ghosted in there. It gets a little tedious pulling them out. I did go back and spray a little extra black around the edges because I scratched it a little bit pulling the decals out. But you really won't get the full effect of this until we get it unwrapped. But now we're going to go ahead and spray the blue. We'll use this is some older stuff I've got, Auto Air. Just a metallic or a pearlized blue. And it's kind of a medium blue. And we're going to go straight over the black. We're going to do some black or some darker blue over it, but I really don't see any point in it, so we'll go ahead and just spray this pearl blue over it. And then once we get this sprayed, we got to decide what we're going to do in the middle here. I'm not sure what color the body's going to be yet. I know the drips are going to be pink, but we got to have something to go with that. So anyways, let's spray some pearl blue. All right, we're going to let that set up and dry, and we'll back this blue with silver. Just give it a little extra pop and help it be a little more opaque. But there's our ghosted in RC10s and some AEs. It'll look pretty cool when it's all said and done. Yeah, let me get this dry. We'll get it backed up, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do in the middle. All right, guys, I don't think I have a choice. I'm going to have to paint the middle first, because I can't see a distinct line where my drips are to do the outline around them. Now, if I wasn't doing an outline around the drips, it wouldn't be a problem. Or if I would have actually took the time to cut them all at the same time. I was being somewhat lazy and or kind of planning ahead, thinking that I could see what I needed to peel out, but well, here I am now and I can't see it. So lesson learned, I probably should have cut it all at the same time. So now we got to paint this middle color, whatever color we decide, because I haven't decided yet. I'm still leaning white. If I do white, I'm going to have to use a spray can, because I have an issue with this stuff bleeding together. I don't want to take a chance and ruin this body at this point. Yes, they are non-compatible paints, but if they are 100% dry, they will work. So I'm going to hop off so I don't mess my windows up, and we'll be right back. Alright guys, we got the middle pulled out. Everything pulled out good. I did see a spot that I missed when I sprayed the blue that didn't get pulled out, so not a big deal. We can fix that. I think we're going to play it safe. We're going to do drop shadows with black, and we're going to spray this gunmetal gray. I thought about doing black. Black would look cool too, but just to add a little detail to it, we're going to do the gray. And the gray is different enough from the silver that there will be a difference between the two. The silver will still stand out really good. So, and that pink's really going to pop against the gray, I think. So, enough talking. Let's get some drop shadows on this thing, and then we'll spray some gray paint. All right, guys, sorry about that. I did not hit record. I was going to do, thought about doing black in the center, but we ended up doing, I'm going to do a charcoal gray. I got some really heavy shadowing. The body's going to be really dark, but the pink drips are going to overpower all the darkness, and we'll do something bright around the windows. So we got our drop shadows on, which is a little bit heavy, so it's going to look good either way. So we got our drop shadows on. We're going to come back and spray some gunmetal black. This is something I just mixed up, some pearl silver and black mixture. So let me get my airbrush cleaned out, and we'll spray that, and then we'll come back. We got to trim the drips out, but once we get that done, we are one step closer to wrapping this thing up. All right, guys. I'm sorry about hitting the not hitting the record button when we did the shadowing, but I will get you on the next one because there are plenty of bodies in the next few weeks. We got another buggy body behind this one that goes on the same car, and 2 to 3 more 10T truck bodies we got to get done in the next 3 weeks. So stay tuned for that. All right, that's my gray mixture. We're going to put a couple of coats on there. May back it up with black just to make sure it's opaque enough that the pink doesn't show through. And then last thing we got to do is trim around the drips, spray those, and we'll trim around the windows and spray those. All right, guys, we got all the drips trimmed out, and we left our ghost graphics that are going to be the same color as the drip. And I have one place that the outline of the drip pulled off. I didn't get quite cut good right here, so I did touch that up with a piece of masking tape. Hopefully the masking tape doesn't affect our paint in here. It shouldn't. But what we're going to do first, we're going to go ahead and shoot all around this with a magenta or a raspberry color. And then once the raspberry is dry, we're going to peel everything off and spray it with the fluorescent pink. So it'll be a pink drip with a pink outline, but with the magenta fade in the drip itself to add a little depth and detail. And then we'll come back and do the windows. They'll be just straight hot pink around the windows, so they'll stand out and tie in with the whole body. So once we get that done, we're done. So. All right, we're going to have to sneak up on this. We get a couple of coats so it'll be dark enough. So we'll have a distinct difference between the pink and the magenta, because right now with this one coat, it's looking really pink. But there's the idea. We're going to get this dry. I'll put another coat on. Same deal. I'm trying to leave some blank areas that the pink's going to go in. And then, yeah, pretty simple. We'll leave that last coat wet to let it blend together. Not wet, but we'll leave it not completely dry. And that way the pink and the magenta will kind of do that natural blend. They'll kind of mix themselves together on the body itself. So we'll go over that once we get to that point. But let me get the rest of this on, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, we got everything peeled out. Had to do a little touch up around the windows. I'm not real skilled at cutting these windows perfectly straight, but easy enough to fix with some tape. I did leave the last coat of magenta a little wet. That's risky pulling this masking out, because if you drop the masking in it, it's going to mess up your paint. So I don't recommend it. And see a little spot right there that's blown through. How'd that happen? Actually, it's a stripe. Anyways, yeah, I don't recommend pulling tape off of wet paint. But with the first 2 coats were dry, I put a 3rd coat on and left it a little wet. That way when we spray this pink over it, hopefully all this will kind of naturally blend together and it'll have a nice seamless blend between the magenta and the pink. But you'll see a distinct color difference between the two. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and spray the rest of this and then we'll be ready for an unveil. All right, there's 1 coat, and you can see our pink on pink drips, and our ghost graphic is mixed in with it, just to break it up and add a little bit more detail. And yeah, it's looking pretty cool. Let me get a couple more coats in there. We'll get it backed up with white, and then unveil time. All right, guys, we are at the end. Got all of our pink on. We're going to go ahead and black everything with white. Once we get it backed with white, I'm going to put a coat of gray over it just to make it look finished. And then unveil time. All right, guys, we'll probably go with 2 coats of white just to make sure everything's even. And then once that's dried up, we'll hit it with a coat of light gray and make it look finished. And we are finito. All right, there's 1 coat. We're going to finish this up, and then we'll see you back in the studio for the unveil. All right, guys, we got it all wrapped up. Let's do the most satisfying part of painting an RC body, and that is peeling off this film and revealing all of your hard work. And this one here, if you hadn't noticed, was stressing me out a little bit because I did step out of my comfort zone a little bit with I generally use just masking tape, and I have used liquid mask in the past, but it's not something I commonly use. But I encourage you to try things, and like I did, and I think it worked out great. Kapowie, check that one out. Pretty cool. And there's our Ghost RC10s and some AEs in there. Kind of hard to see the AEs, but there's a couple in there. The RC10s kind of stand out. There's AE right there. There's our 2-tone drips with the Ghost graphic in the middle of it. We got an RC10 in the hood here. The gray almost looks black. Like I said, I think the body would have looked good black and blue with the silver in the middle. So we basically got that effect, but we got some gray in there to break it up. So yeah, try new things, and you never know, it might work out. Like I said, I had a couple areas that gave me a little bit of trouble. I had to touch up and straighten this line here. Straighten the bottom of this line. We got a little bit of peel right there, but that's not a big deal. We can put a sticker on it. So either way, check it out up close. There it is. 1 down, 2 more to go. This month is going to be full of paint, so stay tuned. I got to get this one back to Chris. We're going to let this one sit for a couple days. We'll put some protective tape anywhere that may rub on this car. It's going on his A&L RC10. If you hadn't seen the update on this, we did a little review on it last Sunday. But yeah, the vintage race will be here before we know it. We got this was our backup body for Chris's A&L. We got at least 2 more 10Ts and 1 that's going to another channel. So at least possibly 3 10Ts before Christmas. And yeah, there we go. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Tune in Sunday for probably maybe possibly another paint video because we got plenty to do in the next couple weeks before Christmas. And if you hadn't already, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to hit the join button, if you want to join the membership, I did put a link in the description. That helps with other future projects and adventures that we're going to do. 2025, we got some plans for some cool stuff. So stay tuned for that. And until then, we'll see you Sunday. Thanks.